My dear friends, our readings today invite us to think about how is God inviting you and me into become friends in friendship with Him. A couple years ago, when I was living in Boston for my theology studies, I had a day off on a Friday, and I decided, I want to go down into the city and explore a little bit. And so I took the train down into the city and was wandering around. It was a gorgeous day outside. Sun was out, nice small breeze down by the harbor. And it came time for lunch, so I had found this little fish shack right on the water. It was a gorgeous scene, and it was a great place to grab a lobster roll and a clam chowder. And so I went in line, ordered my lobster roll, ordered my clam chowder, and found a place to sit. It was starting to get pretty busy. It was the prime lunch hour, if you will. And so I noticed that just about every seat was taken on this little patio outside the restaurant. A few moments later, I noticed that there was only one seat left, and that was the seat that was across from me. I was one person, sitting at a table for two. And I noticed this one lady entering the patio with a tray with her lobster roll and her clam chowder. And she does a quick lap around and I think notices that there isn't a place to sit. And then she does a second lap. And I saw her and I thought, oh my gosh, I know that feeling of not knowing where to go or maybe not having a place to sit at a table. So I thought, well, I have a seat right across from me. So I got up and went up to her and I said, hey, excuse me, ma'am, if you were looking for a place to sit, you're welcome to join me here. And so she gladly accepted the invitation. We both were sitting there enjoying our lobster rolls and clam chowder. And as any strangers might do, we introduced ourselves to each other. I mentioned, hey, my name's Nick. I'm a Jesuit. I'm studying to be a Catholic priest. Just here enjoying the nice day and getting away from the school and studies. And she introduced herself. Oh, my name's Donna. This was a lady who was maybe in her late 60s. She had mentioned that she was recently retired from working in nutrition. And she grew up in the north suburbs of the city and decided, hey, as a retired lady, she wants to get into the city a little bit more often to explore and get to know Boston, a place where she wasn't always able to come during her studies or during her work life. So we go back and forth asking the kind of common questions that anyone would do so when meeting someone new. And I asked her a question, do you come from a big or small family? And that question was hard for Donna when she received that. I found out, and she had mentioned that she had recently lost her mother. And it was really hard for her, with her mother being in her late 90s, because she was the caretaker for her mom. And she was also an only child, never had known her father growing up, didn't have any siblings. And I thought, oh my gosh, this lady probably doesn't have anyone to share this with or talk to about this struggle in her life. And as we continued to talk, she noticed that I was wearing a shirt that had the Jesuit symbol on it. It's the IHS for Jesus with a big sunburst. And she says, oh, I'm Catholic too. Here's my miraculous medallion of Mary around my neck. And we began to connect a little bit about our faith. And she said to me, I didn't really grow up that faithful. Never really went to church all that much. But in caring for my mother in her last years, and today, I've started going back to church again. I've started to develop some kind of prayer in my life. And I really feel that through the Spirit, that the presence of my mom is still with me today. It was perhaps the opportunity of friendship that Donna had been seeking or yearning for with God within her life. Our readings today invite us to consider what might friendship look like for each of us before God. We have in the gospel today the apostles saying, "Hey, Jesus, increase our faith." And we're not sure exactly, maybe just from this context, but it could kind of seem like, hey, why don't you do the work in the relationship so that I can gain from it? But as we might know, any good friendship requires something from both sides. Just as God is working to be in relationship with you and me, we also need to put in some effort, some prayer, some hope, and some reflection and discernment within our own lives. Even the faith of a mustard seed, which is one of the smallest seeds around, Jesus says, can bring us great faith. And what's amazing about a mustard seed is that most of them grow to be between maybe 6 to 12 feet tall, but even such a small seed could get upwards of 20 feet to become a bigger tree. Perhaps sometimes we feel like Habakkuk in the first reading, who's saying things like, "God, do you not see what's going on?" or "Help," or "Where are you?" But what I find so amazing is that the prophet Habakkuk, his name in Hebrew means embrace. And we notice during that first reading, as finally he makes that connection with God, and God invites him to share his experience on a tablet so that others might be able to know and to profit from that relationship. We see Habakkuk embracing the friendship that's being invited to him through God. He embraces the creed as well as the cross. He embraces the joys and the sorrows that come with this relationship. Perhaps, too, we can consider the second reading from Paul to Timothy. Paul, whose name means humble, invites us to recognize what are those little gifts that we have that can get us moving little by little towards building that relationship with our loving God. As we go forward this weekend and within our lives, perhaps we might consider what are those small little ways, just like those little small mustard seeds, those small humble ways of Paul, that we can enter into a friendship even more deeper with a God who also desires to be in a loving relationship and friendship with us.